The darkness of space stretched endlessly before the survey vessel Pathfinder as it moved through the outer reaches of human space. Captain Marcus Thompson stood at the bridge's main viewport, his tired eyes scanning the void ahead. 3 months of routine survey work had yielded nothing interesting, and his crew was getting restless. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange on the long-range scanners," said Robert, the ship's sensor operator. His voice carried an unusual edge of excitement. "It's big, really big." Thompson walked over to the sensor station. His interest piqued. The Pathfinder wasn't meant to find anything out here. This sector had been declared empty decades ago. "Show me," he ordered, leaning over Robert's shoulder. The scan results made Thompson's heart skip a beat. The object was massive, easily several kilometers long. Its profile matched nothing in their database, yet something about its shape seemed oddly familiar. "Wake up Dr. Reed," Thompson commanded. "We're going to need her expertise on this one." As the bridge crew scrambled to action, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled onto something important. Emma Reed arrived on the bridge 15 minutes later, her gray jumpsuit wrinkled from sleep. Her eyes widened as she looked at the sensor readings. "This can't be right," she whispered, fingers flying over the console. "The energy signature. It's human in origin." "Human." Thompson frowned. "There shouldn't be any human ships out here, especially not something this size." "Not just any human ship," Reed said, her voice filled with awe. "Captain, I think we found the Invincible." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Every human knew about the Invincible, the legendary dreadnought that vanished during the Centauri War 2 centuries ago. Its disappearance had marked a turning point in the war, leading to years of bitter struggle before humanity finally achieved a costly victory. "Get us closer," Thompson ordered. "But maintain safe distance. Robert, I want continuous scans. If anything so much as twitches out there, I want to know about it." The Pathfinder slowly approached the massive derelict. As they drew closer, the ship's external lights revealed the truth of Reed's identification. The scared hull bore the faded markings of the Earth fleet, and there, barely visible beneath 2 centuries of space dust, was the name, HMS Invincible. "Look at the hull damage," Reed said, studying the magnified images. "These aren't just battle scars. Something strange happened to this ship." She pointed to patterns of distortion in the metal. "I've never seen damage like this before." Thompson keyed the ship-wide comm. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill." He turned to his first officer. "Tom, I want a full security team ready for boarding. Dr. Reed, you're with them. Find out if that ship is safe to enter." The next few hours were tense as the crew prepared for boarding operations. The Pathfinder's small complement of 20 crew members moved with practiced efficiency, but Thompson could sense their nervous energy. This was supposed to be a simple survey mission, not a recovery operation for one of the most famous lost ships in human history. Reed's voice crackled over the comm as her team completed their initial survey. "Captain, you need to see this. The ship's internal atmosphere is mostly intact. More importantly, we're detecting power readings. They're weak, but they're there. This ship isn't dead." Thompson joined the boarding team in the Pathfinder's airlock. As he checked his suit seals, he couldn't help but wonder what they would find aboard the Invincible. The history books said the ship had been carrying experimental weapons technology, something that might have turned the tide of the war if it had reached its destination. The team crossed the void between the ships using their suit thrusters. Up close, the Invincible was even more impressive. Despite the damage and age, its massive weapon ports and thick armor plating spoke of its original purpose as humanity's most powerful warship. They entered through a secondary airlock near the ship's midsection. Their helmet lights illuminated corridors that had been dark for 2 centuries. The air was stale but breathable, just as Reed's scans had indicated. Thompson felt a chill run down his spine as they passed crew quarters still containing personal belongings, frozen in time from the day the ship disappeared. "This way," Reed said, consulting her scanner. "The power readings are coming from the central computer core." If we're lucky, we might be able to access the ship's logs. They made their way deeper into the vessel, passing through corridors that grew progressively more disturbing. Here and there they found signs of battle, scorch marks on walls, damaged panels, and worst of all, the occasional remnant of the original crew. The computer core was a massive chamber in the heart of the ship. Unlike the rest of the vessel, here they found evidence of active systems. Faint lights pulsed along the walls, and the air held a slight electric charge. "This is impossible," Reed muttered as she worked at a console. "These systems shouldn't be functioning after all this time. The power source, it's like nothing I've ever seen." Suddenly, the chamber hummed to life. Lights flickered on, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the room. A voice, artificial but somehow human, filled their helmet speakers. "Identity confirmed. Earth Fleet personnel detected. Emergency Protocol 7 is now active." Thompson stepped forward. "This is Captain Marcus Thompson of the survey vessel Pathfinder. Identify yourself." "I am Atlas, the artificial intelligence core of the HMS Invincible. Captain Thompson, your arrival is both fortunate and urgent. I have been maintaining minimal functions for 197 years, waiting for human contact. There is information vital to Earth's survival stored in my databases." Reed looked up from her console, her face pale behind her helmet visor. "Captain, you need to see these readings. The quantum drive. It's still intact. This is the technology that was lost when the Invincible disappeared." Before Thompson could respond, Robert's voice cut in over the comm. "Captain, multiple ships just appeared at the edge of our sensor range. Their configurations match known Alderaan Empire vessels, a lot of them." Thompson's mind raced. The Alderaan Empire, humanity's current threat, was believed to be technologically superior in every way. But here they were, standing in a ship that might hold the key to evening the odds. "How long until they reach us?" Thompson asked. 20 minutes at their current speed," Robert replied. "Atlas," Thompson addressed the AI, "we need to know what happened to this ship, and we need to know now. Why did the Invincible disappear?" The holographic display changed, showing images of a long-ago battle. "Captain, what I am about to share will change the course of human history. Again. But first, you must understand what really happened during our last battle with the Centauri Collective." As the AI began its tale, Thompson knew their simple survey mission had just become something much more important. The race to unlock the Invincible's secrets before the Alderaan fleet arrived had begun, and the fate of humanity might once again rest with this long-lost dreadnought. Atlas's holographic display filled the computer core with images of a fierce space battle. Captain Thompson and his team watched as ancient ships exchanged fire, their weapons lighting up the void. But Thompson kept glancing at his mission clock, 18 minutes until the Alderaan fleet arrived. "During the final days of the Centauri War," Atlas explained, "we discovered a fundamental flaw in their shield technology. But before we could transmit this information to Earth Fleet Command, we were caught in a temporal anomaly. The entire ship was frozen in time." "That explains the strange damage patterns," Reed said, her eyes moving between the hologram and her scanner. "The hull shows signs of temporal stress. But Atlas, what about the quantum drive?" "The records say it was experimental technology." A new image appeared, showing complex engine schematics. The quantum drive was more than just a propulsion system. It could detect and exploit weaknesses in enemy shield frequencies. But it required immense power and was highly unstable. "Captain," Robert's voice cut in over the comm. 15 minutes until contact. The Alderaan fleet is spreading out. Looks like they're planning to surround us." Thompson made a quick decision. "Dr. Reed, can we get this ship running?" Reed studied her readings. "Maybe. The main systems are intact, just dormant. Atlas has been keeping the core systems alive all these years. But Captain, powering up a ship this old is incredibly dangerous. More dangerous than facing an Alderaan battle fleet in a survey vessel," Thompson asked. "Atlas, Can you help us restart the Invincible's systems? Yes, but there are risks. The quantum drive's power signature will be detected by the Alderaan fleet, and if the drive destabilizes, it could destroy both ships. Thompson turned to his team. Return to the Pathfinder. Tell Tom to prep for emergency departure if this goes wrong. He looked at Reed. Doctor, I need you to stay and help with the restart. As the security team headed back, Thompson contacted his ship. Robert, send out a distress call to Earth Fleet. Full encryption. Tell them we found the Invincible and need immediate support. Reed was already working at a console, her fingers flying over the ancient controls. Atlas, begin power-up sequence. Redirect all available energy to critical systems only. We don't need weapons yet, just shields and the quantum drive. The massive ship began to hum around them. Lights flickered on throughout the corridors, and the deck vibrated as long-dormant systems came back to life. Warning alerts flashed across Reed's console. Power fluctuations in the main grid, she reported. The conduits aren't handling the load well after all this time. Atlas, can you reroute through secondary systems? We're routing power. Warning, quantum drive initialization will require 3 minutes to complete. Detecting multiple incoming ships on attack vectors. Thompson watched the tactical display as the Alderaan fleet moved closer. Their ships were sleek and powerful, products of a civilization centuries ahead of humanity in technology. Or at least that's what everyone believed. Captain, Robert called. They're hailing us. Put it through to my helmet comm. A cold, precise voice filled his helmet. Earth vessel, this is Commander Dex of the Alderaan Empire. You have entered restricted space and accessed prohibited technology. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Thompson smiled grimly. This is Captain Thompson. Strange that you're claiming restricted space 10,000 light-years from your empire. How did you know we were here so quickly? They've been watching the Invincible, Reed said suddenly. That's why this sector was declared empty. They knew it was here all along. 2 minutes until quantum drive initialization, Atlas announced. Detecting enemy weapons powering up. The first shots from the Alderaan fleet lit up space around them. The Pathfinder, small and agile, managed to dodge the initial barrage, but it was only a matter of time. Atlas, we need shields now, Thompson ordered. Emergency power to shields. Warning, this will delay quantum drive initialization by 40 seconds. The Invincible's ancient shield generators roared to life, creating a protective bubble around both ships. The Alderaan weapons fire splashed harmlessly against it, for now. Shield strength at 60% and falling, Atlas reported. The power requirements are straining the rebuilt circuits. Reed worked frantically at her console, trying to stabilize the power grid. The quantum drive is drawing too much power. We need to balance the load or everything will fail. Thompson watched as more Alderaan ships arrived. They were taking positions in a sphere around the Invincible, their weapons charging for a coordinated strike. They knew they had to destroy the ancient dreadnought before its weapons came online. 30 seconds to quantum drive initialization, Atlas announced. Shield strength at 40%. The Alderaan fleet opened fire with everything they had. The shield bubble around the Invincible lit up like a sun as it absorbed the assault. Warning alarms blared through the computer core. Shield collapse imminent, Atlas warned. Quantum drive at 90% charge. Route everything to the drive. Thompson ordered. Shields, life support, everything. Captain, that's suicide. Reed protested. Atlas, do it. The shields dropped. In the seconds before the Alderaan weapons could strike, the quantum drive reached full power. Reality itself seemed to bend around the ancient dreadnought. Quantum field established, Atlas announced. Detecting shield frequency patterns from all Alderaan vessels. They are identical to Centauri configurations. How is that possible? Reed asked, staring at the readings. The Alderaans didn't develop their technology, Thompson realized. They found it, just like we found the Invincible. They'd been using Centauri technology all along. Quantum field targeting enemy shield frequencies, Atlas reported. Firing disruption pulse. A wave of invisible energy burst from the Invincible. When it reached the Alderaan ships, their shields flickered and died. The mighty vessels of humanity's greatest enemy hung helpless in space, their superior technology rendered useless by a 200-year-old weapon. "The quantum drive is overloading," Reed shouted. "We need to shut it down." "Not yet," Thompson said. "Atlas, transmit the shield frequency data to the Pathfinder. Robert, send it to Earth Fleet Command immediately." The Invincible shuddered as its ancient systems began to fail. Panels exploded around them, and the deck plates groaned under the strain. "Quantum drive critical," Atlas announced calmly. "Total system failure in 20 seconds. You must evacuate." Thompson looked at the tactical display one last time. The Alderaan fleet was in chaos, their ships trying to restart their shields. The precious data was already being transmitted to Earth. They had done it. "Reed, let's go." He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the exit. As they ran through the corridors, the mighty dreadnought was literally coming apart around them. They reached their suits and made for the airlock. Behind them, 2 centuries of history began its final chapter. The Invincible, mankind's greatest warship, had fought its last battle. As they pushed off from the dying ship, Thompson looked back. The massive vessel was breaking apart, its hull twisting as the quantum drive tore it apart from within. But its sacrifice had given humanity something precious: hope. The Pathfinder's airlock opened to receive them as the Invincible exploded in a blast of quantum energy. The Alderaan ships, their shields still dead, scattered to avoid the debris. "Robert," Thompson called as soon as they were inside. "Tell me that transmission got through." "Yes, sir," Robert replied, his voice filled with excitement. "Earth Fleet confirms receipt of the data. They're already analyzing the shield frequencies. Sir, they say this changes everything." Thompson helped Reed to her feet. Through the viewport, they could see the remnants of the Invincible spreading across the stars like a new constellation. Somewhere in that cloud of debris was Atlas, the faithful AI who had waited 2 centuries to complete its mission. "Send another message to Fleet Command," Thompson ordered. Tell them the Invincible has saved humanity one last time." The Pathfinder raced through space, pushing its engines to their limits. Behind them, the remaining Alderaan ships had regrouped and were giving chase. The data they carried was too valuable to lose, and the enemy knew it. Thompson stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display with growing concern. They had survived the encounter with the Invincible, but now they faced a new problem. Even with their shields compromised, the Alderaan ships were faster and better armed than his small survey vessel. "How long until we reach the jump point?" he asked. 20 minutes at maximum speed," Robert replied. "But the Alderaans will catch us before then. Their engines are still superior to ours." Reed worked frantically at the engineering station, where she had taken over from the regular engineer. "I might have an idea." The Invincible's data transmission included more than just shield frequencies. There were fragments of other technical data mixed in. "What kind of data?" Thompson asked. "Engine specifications, power systems. Atlas was trying to give us everything it could before the end. If I can decode it quickly enough, we might find something useful." The ship shuddered as a distant shot from the Alderaan fleet passed close by. They were still out of effective weapons range, but that wouldn't last long. "Do what you can, Doctor. Tom, get our security teams to the escape pods. If we're captured, I want that data scattered across as many targets as possible." Reed's fingers flew over her console as she dug through the massive data package they had received. The Invincible's final transmission had been rushed and partially corrupted, but there was still valuable information hidden within it. "Got something," she exclaimed. The Invincible's quantum drive wasn't just for weapons. It could also be used for short-range teleportation. The power requirements were enormous, but She paused, thinking hard. Captain, I think we can modify our jump drive using this principle. What do you mean? Thompson moved to her station. A normal jump drive creates a tunnel through space. But according to this, the quantum drive could fold space itself. We can't match that power, but maybe we can create a smaller effect. A quantum skip instead of a full jump. Another shot rocked the ship. Shields at 60%. Robert called out. They're getting closer. Thompson made a quick decision. Do it. What do you need? Time. And power. Lots of power. Reed was already pulling up the jump drive specifications. We'll have to shut down everything except life support and minimal shields. How long? 10 minutes, maybe less if I can get the power flow right. Thompson nodded. Tom, get me every engineer on this ship. Dr. Reed is in charge of them. Robert, evasive pattern delta. Buy us as much time as you can. The next few minutes were tense as Reed and the engineering team worked to modify the jump drive. The Pathfinder zigzagged through space, using every trick its crew knew to avoid the increasingly accurate Alderaan fire. Shields at 40%. Robert reported. Multiple impacts. Drive modifications at 70%. Reed called back. But Captain, there's something else in this data. Something about the Alderaans. Another hit rocked the ship hard. Warning lights flashed across multiple stations. Hull breach on Deck 3. Tom reported. Emergency containment holding. 5 more minutes, Reed promised. Just give me 5 minutes. Thompson watched as the Alderaan ships spread out, trying to box them in. Their tactics were familiar. Too familiar. He walked over to Reed's station. What did you find about the Alderaans? Reed showed him her screen. According to the Invincible's records, the Centauri didn't just disappear after the war. Some of them fled to unexplored space. They found a primitive civilization and conquered it, sharing just enough technology to create a powerful military force. The Alderaans, Thompson breathed. They're puppets. The Centauri have been using them to try again, to conquer humanity through proxies. Drive modifications complete. Reed announced. But sir, we can only do this once. The power surge will burn out the drive completely. The ship shook violently. Shields failing. Robert shouted. They're charging weapons for a killing blow. Plot a course directly for Earth, Thompson ordered. Everyone hang on. Dr. Reed. Do it. Reed activated the modified drive. The ship's lights dimmed as power was diverted to the experimental systems. Space itself seemed to twist around them as the quantum effect took hold. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality blinked. The Pathfinder reappeared 2 light-years away, well out of range of the Alderaan fleet. The ship's systems were badly strained, with warnings flashing on every console, but they were alive. Status report. Thompson called out. Jump drive is completely burned out, Reed reported, but the main engines are still functional. We're about 6 hours from the nearest Earth fleet outpost at normal speed. Multiple ships appearing on long-range sensors, Robert announced. Then his face broke into a grin. Earth fleet signatures. The outpost must have picked up our distress call. Thompson allowed himself to relax slightly. They had made it. But the implications of what they had learned weighed heavily on his mind. The Centauri were still out there, using the Alderaan Empire as their pawns in a centuries-old game of revenge. Send a priority message to Fleet Command, he ordered. Tell them we need to speak with Admiral Turner immediately. The data we recovered from the Invincible isn't just about shield frequencies. It's evidence of a much bigger threat. As the Earth fleet ships approached, Thompson looked at his tired crew. They had started this mission as simple surveyors, but they had uncovered a secret that would change the course of human history. The Invincible's last gift wasn't just military technology. It was the truth about humanity's enemies, both old and new. Reed joined him at the viewport, watching the fleet ships grow larger. What do you think will happen now? Now, Thompson considered the question. Now we prepare. The Alderans will know we escaped with the data. They'll know their shields are compromised. And somewhere out there, their Centauri masters will realize their deception is about to be exposed. We're not ready for another war, Reed said quietly. No, Thompson agreed. But thanks to the Invincible and its crew's sacrifice, we're not helpless anymore. We know who our real enemy is. We have their technical data. And most importantly, we know they can be beaten. The first Earth Fleet ship pulled alongside the Pathfinder, preparing to dock. Soon they would transfer the precious data and brief Admiral Turner on everything they have discovered. The real work was just beginning. But as Thompson prepared to receive the fleet officers, he spared one last thought for Atlas and the ancient dreadnought that had waited so long to complete its final mission. The Invincible had lived up to its name, not through immortality, but by passing on the knowledge humanity needed to survive. The next war was coming, but this time, humanity would be ready. Admiral Turner's hologram stood in the Pathfinder's briefing room, his expression grave as he reviewed the data from the Invincible. Thompson and Reed had spent the last 3 hours explaining everything they had discovered about the Alderan Empire and their Centauri controllers. This changes our entire strategic position, Turner said finally. If the Alderans are just puppets, then we're not facing a superior civilization. We're fighting our old enemies in new clothes. Yes, sir, Thompson agreed. But there's more. Dr. Reed has been analyzing the technical data we recovered. The quantum drive technology isn't just a weapon. It could change everything about how we fight this war. Reed stepped forward, pulling up technical diagrams on the holographic display. The Invincible's quantum drive was decades ahead of anything we have now. But with the data we recovered, we might be able to reproduce it. Not just for weapons, but for shields, communications, even faster than light travel. How long would it take to build? Turner asked. That's the problem, sir, Reed replied. Months, maybe years, and we don't have that kind of time. The Alderans, the Centauri, they know we have this data now. They'll attack before we can develop it. Turner nodded grimly. They're already moving. We've detected massive fleet movements at the edge of Alderan space. They're preparing for a full-scale invasion. Then we need a different approach, Thompson said. Doctor, what about the prototype quantum drive at the Echo Base Research Facility? Could we modify it using what we learned from the Invincible? Reed's eyes lit up. Maybe. It's an older design, but the basic principles are similar. If we could integrate the Invincible's control systems. She turned to Admiral Turner. Sir, we need access to that facility. Turner was quiet for a moment, considering. Echo Base is our most secure research facility. If the Alderans discover its location. He sighed. But we're out of options. Captain Thompson, you and Dr. Reed will head there immediately. I'm giving you full authority to modify the prototype. Just get it working before the enemy arrives. The journey to Echo Base took 2 days. The facility was hidden in an asteroid field, protected by powerful cloaking technology. As the Pathfinder approached, Thompson couldn't help but admire the ingenuity of its design. The entire base was built inside a massive asteroid, virtually invisible to outside sensors. The base's chief scientist, Dr. Wells, met them in the main lab. The prototype quantum drive sat in the center of the room, surrounded by complex monitoring equipment. It was smaller than the Invincible's drive, but Reed's eyes gleamed with excitement as she examined it. The basic design is sound, she said, but they were missing crucial elements in the control systems. With the Invincible's data, we can make it work properly. They worked around the clock, modifying the prototype. Reed led the technical team, integrating the ancient dreadnought's control algorithms into the modern systems. Thompson coordinated with base security, knowing they were in a race against time. On the 4th day, alarms blared throughout the facility. Multiple ships dropping out of jump space, the security officer announced. Alderan signatures, it's a full battle fleet. Thompson rushed to the control room. The tactical display showed dozens of enemy ships approaching the asteroid field. How did they find us? They must have tracked the quantum signatures from our modifications, Reed said, joining him. The prototype's been running at high power for days. How long until the drive is ready? Reed shook her head. We need at least an hour to complete the final calibrations. If we try to use it now, it could tear the base apart. The first Alderaan shots struck the asteroid field, destroying the smaller rocks. Their ships moved in a precise pattern, methodically eliminating any possible hiding place. Base defenses online, the security officer reported, but we can't hold them off for long. Our shields weren't designed for this kind of assault. Thompson watched the enemy fleets approach. Their formation was familiar. The same tactics the Centauri had used in the old war. Doctor, what if we don't need the drive to be fully operational? What if we just need it to work once? Reed understood immediately. Like the Invincible, one massive pulse to disrupt their shields. She thought for a moment. It's possible, but we'd have to route power from the entire base. We'd be defenseless. Better than being dead, Thompson said. He turned to the security officer. Tell all personnel to evacuate to the emergency shelters. Dr. Wells, we need control of all power systems. The next 40 minutes were a blur of activity. As the Alderaan fleet drew closer, Reed and her team worked frantically to modify the prototype for one massive burst. The base shuddered under enemy fire, its shields weakening with each hit. Power systems ready, Dr. Wells reported. But sir, even if this works, the pulse will destroy the prototype. All our research will mean nothing if we don't survive. Thompson finished. Dr. Reed. Reed's fingers flew over the control panel, making final adjustments. Ready. But Captain, there's something else. The quantum pulse. It won't just disable their shields. At this power level, it might do more. Much more. What do you mean? The Invincible's drive created a temporary effect. This could permanently damage their quantum field generators. Not just their shields, but their faster-than-light drives too. We'd strand them here. Another hit rocked the base. Shields failing. The security officer shouted. They're powering up their main weapons. Thompson looked at the tactical display. The Alderaan fleet had surrounded the asteroid base, their weapons charged for a killing blow. He thought about the Invincible, about Atlas waiting 2 centuries to deliver its final message. Sometimes victory required sacrifice. Do it, he ordered. Reed activated the prototype. The quantum drive hummed, building to a frequency that made their teeth vibrate. Warning lights flashed across every console as power was drawn from the base's systems. Quantum field established, Reed announced. Pulse firing in 3, 2, 1. The world went white. A wave of quantum energy burst from the prototype, expanding outward like a ripple in space itself. When it reached the Alderaan fleet, their ships seemed to flicker, as if reality itself was uncertain about their existence. Then, one by one, their systems failed, not just shields this time, but everything that operated on quantum principles. The mighty warships hung dead in space, their advanced technology transformed into useless metal. The prototype exploded, taking half the lab with it. But as the smoke cleared, Thompson stared at the tactical display in amazement. The entire Alderaan fleet, 30 ships and thousands of crew, was completely helpless. Send word to Admiral Turner, he ordered. Tell him it worked. Better than we could have hoped. And tell him to hurry. We've got prisoners to collect. Reed joined him at the display, watching Earth fleet ships already jumping in to secure the disable vessels. We didn't just beat them, she said quietly. We've broken their technology. Their entire empire was built on Centauri quantum science. Without it, they're no longer a threat, Thompson finished. And somewhere out there, their Centauri masters are about to learn that their weapons can be turned against them. Again. The quantum pulse had done more than win a battle. It had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Humanity had taken its first real step toward becoming the dominant force in known space, and it had all started with a lost dreadnought, waiting patiently in the void to deliver its final message. 6 months had passed since the battle at Echo Base. Captain Thompson stood at the window of Earth Fleet Command's main conference room, watching ships move through the orbital lanes above Earth. Many of them were captured Alderaan vessels, now repainted in Earth Fleet colors. It was still strange to see them flying under human control. The door opened, and Dr. Reed entered. She looked different now, wearing the formal uniform of the Fleet Science Division, with commander's ranks on her collar. The last few months had been busy for both of them. "The final report is ready," she said, joining him at the window. "The interrogations of the Alderaan crews have confirmed everything. The Centauri have been controlling their empire from the shadows for over a century, building them into a weapon to use against Earth." Thompson nodded. "And now that weapon has backfired. How many Alderaan worlds have surrendered?" 15 so far. Without their quantum technology, their fleet is crippled. Most of their colonies are asking for Earth protection now that they know the truth about their Centauri masters. Admiral Turner joined them, carrying a data pad with the latest intelligence reports. "We've located the main Centauri base," he announced. "It's in a system beyond the edge of Alderaan space. They've been hiding there all this time, pulling the strings of their puppet empire." "Are they a threat?" Thompson asked. "Not anymore," Turner replied. "When the quantum pulse disabled the Alderaan fleet, it sent a cascade through their entire network. Every piece of quantum technology they controlled went dark. The Centauri are trapped in their hidden system, unable to even send messages to their former servants." Reed smiled. "The technology they thought made them invincible became their biggest weakness. The Invincible's final gift kept on giving." "Speaking of gifts," Turner said, "the reconstruction team finished analyzing the data from the captured Alderaan ships. Dr. Reed, your theory was correct. Their entire technological base came from salvaged Centauri designs. They never truly understood how it worked. They just used what they were given. That's why they couldn't adapt when we destroyed their quantum systems," Reed said. "They didn't know how to build anything else. The Centauri kept them dependent." Thompson turned from the window. "And now?" "Now we help them rebuild," Turner said. "But with their own technology this time, not hand-me-downs from their former masters. Many of the younger Alderaans are eager to work with us. They're tired of being puppets." A young officer entered the room with an urgent message. "Sirs, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the Centauri system." They gathered around the communication display. The face that appeared was clearly Centauri. They had the same distinctive features that appeared in historical records from the old war. The alien looked old and tired. "I am Speaker Voss of the Centauri Remnant," the alien said. "We request terms for surrender." Thompson watched the proud alien force out those words. 2 centuries of plotting revenge, undone in 6 months by the very technology they had tried to use against humanity. "Tell them we'll accept their surrender," Turner ordered. "On one condition: they share everything they know about quantum science. Not just the weapons, but all of it. It's time for them to help build something instead of trying to destroy." After the transmission ended, Reed turned to Thompson. "You know what this means. With both Centauri and Alderaan quantum technology to study, we can advance our understanding by decades. The prototype we built at Echo Base was just the beginning. As long as we're smarter about using it than they were," Thompson said. "Power isn't just about having advanced technology. It's about how you use it." Turner nodded in agreement, "which is why the Fleet Council has approved a new initiative. We're establishing the Invincible Institute, a center for quantum research and development. But this time, it won't be hidden away. We're inviting scientists from Earth, the former Alderaan worlds, and yes, even the Centauri. Working together instead of fighting," Reed said. "Atlas would have appreciated that." Thompson smiled, remembering the faithful AI that had waited so long to deliver its message. The first thing we should study is AI technology. Atlas proved that artificial intelligence can be more than just a tool. It can have wisdom. Already in progress, Turner said. In fact, Dr. Reed will be heading the AI division of the new institute. We're hoping to recover some of Atlas's code from the Invincible's wreckage. Reed looked surprised. Sir, I haven't heard about this assignment. Because I'm officially offering it now, Turner replied. You understand both the technology and its implications. We need someone who remembers what Atlas taught us. That knowledge is meant to be shared, not hoarded. An alert sounded from the datapad. Turner checked it and smiled. The first Alderaan ships retrofitted with new Earth engines are ready for their test flights. Shall we go watch? They walked together to the observation deck. Below them, 3 former Alderaan cruisers waited in their docking cradles. Their quantum drives had been replaced with standard human engines, less advanced, but more reliable, and most importantly, built by free people working together. Captain, Reed said suddenly, do you ever wonder if the Invincible knew? If Atlas somehow planned all of this? Thompson watched as the first ship lifted off, its new engines glowing bright against the Earth's atmosphere. I think Atlas knew exactly what it was doing. It didn't just wait 200 years to give us a weapon. It waited to give us a chance to do things differently. The ships rose higher, their formation perfect as they prepared for their first flight under human control. As Thompson watched them, he thought about how much had changed. The discovery of one lost dreadnought had transformed 3 civilizations. The Alderaans were free from their puppet masters. The Centauri had finally laid down their ancient grudge, and humanity had learned that its greatest strength wasn't in technology, but in the wisdom to use it properly. The Invincible lived up to its name, he said quietly. Not because it was unbeatable, but because what it stood for couldn't be destroyed. Hope, wisdom, the belief that knowledge should be used to build, not destroy. Above them, the ships reached their jump point and disappeared into faster-than-light travel, heading out to explore a galaxy that was suddenly full of possibilities instead of threats. The age of quantum technology had ended, but something better had taken its place, an age of cooperation and shared discovery. The lost dreadnought had changed history not through force of arms, but by showing them a better way forward. And as humanity reached out to its former enemies with offers of friendship instead of threats, the spirit of the Invincible and its faithful AI lived on in every peaceful exchange of knowledge and every step toward a brighter future.